Redditors who had their lives saved by someone that gave up this. What's the story? This sorta doesn't count, but I'll tell it anyway. I was born at 24 weeks and 3 days through emergency C-section and weighed 1 pound half Oz and was 11 inches long. I stayed in the NICU for about 3 months. Around the time I was born, my dad's dad was in the hospital across the street dying of colon cancer. I was born in March. One night in April my dad got the phone call that his dad was dying. So he went up there. After my grandfather died, my dad told my mom he wanted to go see me. When they got there, my ventilator, machine helping me breathe, was gone. They were understandably freaked out and asked a nurse what happened. Apparently I pulled the tube out. The tube that was taped to my throat. After the third time of me pulling it out, the doctors left it out to see what would happen, and I started breathing on my own. My dad said, around what time did this happen? And the time the nurse said was the exact moment that my grandfather died. So my family has always said that when my grandfather was taking his last breath, I was taking my first breath on my own. Not quite sure if this counts, but almost 7 years ago I was into some hard shit and my best friend did it with me. Not sure why. He was sick with a couple different long-term illnesses, so we both know it wasn't good for him. Hell, it's not good in general. Don't do drugs, kids. But I was a stupid kid and we did everything together. One night my life kinda imploded on itself, and we doped up more than we ever had before. I was about to do another round when he tried talking me down. I made some excuse about not wanting my shit to go to waste, which was bullshit. I cold saved it for later. So he offered to use it up so that it wouldn't go to waste. If I had taken that, I'd have likely died of an overdose. He actually did. Found out when I woke up. I've been sober ever since. He tried so hard to save me for so many years. I hope he knows that he really did. I was up at a friend's place and they went to a large funeral of someone I didn't know, and this is the story. 3 or 4 daughters were swimming and got swept out by the tide. One by one the father rescued them. He managed to rescue all of them, but drowned, saving his last child. The worst part of the story is that one of them had their birthday that day. Not me, but my great grandfather who lived in Ireland. It was around a time of war, I'm not sure, and soldiers patrolled after curfew and would shoot whoever was out, no questions asked. Mitchell, my GGD, was out after curfew with his brother Christian. They had been seen and were being chased and Mitchell slipped. Christian grabbed his brother and then they both climbed up, but Christian got shot in the leg. Ended up deliberately stopping and trying to buy time and get in a question or something, and Mitchell watched them shoot him. They were young, so this was traumatizing. He managed to escape and even fought in WWII. He died 7 or 8 years ago. He would have turned 101 this year. Fun fact, he was born the same year as World War I ended. Edit, I fixed up some details. Not me, but some old Vietnam veteran at my local VFW was saying his life was saved by an 18-year-old that got drafted. He said he wouldn't be here today if the kid didn't insist on heading into a tunnel first. I think that's right. May have gotten me veterans mixed up. Hey, sorry if the wording is weird. English isn't exactly my sting suit. Also, there's probably a few typos. I'm not sure if this counts, but my mom would talk about when she grew up on the Navajo reservation. One story has always been clear in my mind because I've visited where this happened. So one day there was a school dance and she was running a bit late, but that was okay because the school was like right behind her house, and between her and her neighbors there was an alleyway with a gate. Well, turned out it wasn't okay at all because when she was going through the alleyway there was a guy up against the wall and fence. Since this is a reservation, my mom just thought, okay, it's probably someone who's drunk or something like that. Well, the thought stopped when she noticed that his gaze was on her and wasn't moving off her at all. After the eyes, my mom noticed something reflect the moonlight. Then she noticed what this guy was holding. It was a knife. My mom walked past him with no real trouble, but once she passed the gate she sprinted to the school. My grandfather was the principal there and was overlooking the entrance to greet all the students. Obviously my mom told him everything. My grandfather called the police, but they found nothing, so the night went on until the end of the dance. While people were leaving, this kid went up to my grandpa and he just seemed basically completely wasted and was grabbing his stomach. This kid has also had the reputation of being a troublemaker. Grandfather approached this kid getting ready to bring hell until the kid fell into him. The kid removed his hand from his stomach to reveal that his forearm and the stomach area of his shirt was drenched in blood. He was sent to the hospital, but didn't make it. My mom said with full certainty that without him, she probably would have been the one stabbed. Not exactly on topic, but I'm named after my father's friend, and he died in a bombing during the Troubles. He had seen the bomb and ran back to save the little old lady that owned the place. She got a scar along her cheek and he slammed into the wall and killed by the blast. I need to remember to live better to do him justice. Late reply, but when I was 15 my friends and I ran away to California. We literally just stayed with whoever would welcome us into their home, people we met on the streets. Some people were nice, but of course your luck eventually runs out and you run into the not so nice people. Long story short, my friends and I got separated and I ended up in a motel with a pimp and this prostitute. He wanted to sell me into a sex trafficking ring and told this other lady his plans. At some point, he left the motel room and left his car keys in it. She told me we needed to leave and she stole his car. She took me to a friend's house and he showed up banging on the door. We waited for him to leave and she dropped me off at the BART station and I never saw her again. I pressed rape charges against the pimp and she was supposed to testify, but she was killed. Doesn't really take much to put two and two together. I'm 23 years old now and this doesn't even feel like a memory to me anymore. It feels like a story I saw on the news, but I think about the woman occasionally. I'm studying to be a trauma therapist and want to specialize in sex trauma. So hopefully something good will come out of all of this. This doesn't really count I guess, but here goes. I was around 3 or 4 and my neighbor, 4 years older than me, and I were playing with these plastic guns that had big plastic balls as bullets. We ended up getting one of the balls stuck on top of the closet, so we both climbed the shelves to get it back. The closet ended up tilting and falling on us. My neighbor put her knee up which prevented the closet from squashing my head. She messed up her knee pretty badly, but thanks to that I only got hit near my left eye and had to get stitches. Not to me, but a family friend. There were 2 adults, barely, like 18 and 19, and 3 kids in the back ages 2, 6, and 7. They were driving back from the store to a family gathering, and a drunk driver hit them. I don't know how, but the guy and co-pilot jumped back and protected the kids from the impact. He passed away, but the 3 kids were fine. The driver died too. The drunk guy fled. So when cops came to scene they found the little kids on the dead guy's arms. Not me, but a friend of a friend I had many years back. I'll call the kid Zeke. Zeke and a buddy were by our old intermediate school and hanging out by a drainage pond in the surrounding wetlands. No idea what it's for or what it's used for, but basically it's a super strong whirlpool that will take you under without a second thought. Zeke, from what I recall, forgive me, this was 12 to 13 years ago, was dared to jump in the whirlpool. He did, and he basically got taken under immediately. Zeke, bobbing above and under the water, started screaming for help. 2 men, teachers who were father and son, who frequently walked their dogs around the school premises, noticed this and rushed to save this kid's life. They both jumped in and got Zeke back to land. Unfortunately both of them that day were taken by this aggressive water and died. I'm not so sure how Zeke took it. I was never real close to him in school and the relationship we did have was pretty much pass and repass. From what I observed though, it would suggest he took it pretty hard and never totally got over it. Of course anyone would understand why. I was in an armed robbery. He pointed the gun at me and my boyfriend tackled him, taking 3 to the chest and 1 to the head. The kid panicked and fled. He is now doing 30 years and I was the sole witness at his trial. I knew a guy who was a complete ass. Anyways, he has a pancreas and liver transplant. Did a complete 180. Got married, had 3 beautiful daughters, and became such a great guy. Since I've signed my organ donor card, I'm convinced it was someone's spirit in those organs that changed him. In Flanders fields the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. John McCreenubbles J. Mace screw war and those that profit from it. My cousin was driving his daughter to a new state for her new teaching job when his car was hit by a semi. The daughter was trapped in the car, which was on fire, but somehow her dad broke through a blocked door and dragged her out. Later in the hospital he was found to have a severed spine and main artery. He didn't make it. She's physically fine. I don't know if dragging her out made a difference as to whether he would have lived or not, but I know he would have done it either way and he definitely saved her life, so I feel like it counts. Well, it was back in 1996. I was walking across a railroad track when all of a sudden I was struck from behind by a wheelchair. As I turned around a via rail train instantly blew away the 74-year-old lady that just saved my life. I was so grateful, I helped retrieve her corpse from the oak tree 60 yards down the track. I have two. They aren't me, if that's alright, seeing a lot of others in this technically not me category, so I'm going for it, but they both stuck to me pretty hard. My uncle died trying to protect a couple who was being robbed in a restaurant. Some gangbangers came in and started to harass the people in the restaurant and guns were pulled. My uncle knew one of the guys since high school and figured he could talk him down from hurting anyone else. No one else got hurt except him. Never got to know him, but heard he was an exceptionally cool dude. My teacher in kindergarten was diagnosed with cancer at a point it was aggressively treatable, but also found out she was pregnant. She needed to get an abortion before she could start any cancer treatments, but she didn't want to have the abortion. The cancer was terminal by the time the baby arrived, and she left behind her husband and 3 children. What hit me especially hard with my teacher is that my family remembered her becoming more easily agitated and stressed at the end of the school year, and we found out after her death from her teacher's aide from that year that it was around the time she was diagnosed with the cancer and choosing to have a baby over her own life. My mom got into several arguments with her for being too insensitive and mean to her students towards the end of the school year. Teacher never told her or anyone about her condition.